And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all our listeners and fans out there. Welcome to a podcast that's as electrifying as a game-winning touchdown, as invigorating as a perfectly timed interception, and as legendary as the champions themselves. This is RBLR Sports with the RBLR Bucs gang. Musab here with you, and so happy to have you joining us for another episode. The preseason fun has begun. Week 1 is down in the books, unfortunately with a loss. But hey, it's a new week, and it's preseason, so, we can leave that behind just like we will leave behind all our division rivals in the dust this upcoming regular season. You feel me? A wise man's one told me, you don't win or lose, you win or you learn. So let our beloved Buccaneers take some time to learn from their mistakes and let us allow you to learn about us and how we feel. But we're always happy to know how you feel as well. Speaking of letting me know, I want to know how my two epic partners and podcasters are feeling tonight. To my right, the man with the wit as sharp as a quarterback spiral, the charisma that can rival any post-game interview, and the ability to find the lighter side of even the most intense matchups, Mr. Zach Blaine in the house. How we doing?
Oh, man, we are doing great. I'm happy to be back. The boys' football practice has kind of been keeping me a little busy, so I've missed a few shows here and there, but I'm happy to be back with y'all, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. So far, so good. Week 1 was interesting, but, hey, that's in the past now. So it is what it is. And to my left, he is the walking playbook, the play-by-play Picasso. Like Zach, he'll have you on the edge of your seat, paying real close attention. Folks, Mr. Carter Brantley. Carter, how we doing tonight?
Living lavish, just chilling. Happy that football has finally started. We finally got actual games to talk about, some cool training camp stuff, and unfortunately, some not so cool training stuff because, with training camp starting and preseason getting really ramped up, injuries coming. Unfortunately, there were some injuries that happened this past week, but we'll get into all that. But we want to start off on a light note. We're going to start doing these segments even during the season. What's y'all's game day snack this week for the Jets game? We're all going to be sitting and watching on the TV since they're up in New York, unless either one of y'all got travel plans that I don't know of. But regardless, we're probably going to be watching on TV. So what are y'all eating while y'all are watching the game? We'll start with you.
Thanks for asking. Well, I want to give a quick shout out to the Tampa Bay Rays food service team for making me deeply crave them again like I used to. And shout out to my homie Carter for inviting me last week to the Rays Cardinals game where I had those. Man, you best believe I'm going to have some fresh and mouth-watering hot dogs. I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm just going to hit up the grill. Oh, yeah, you best believe that. And, I might top it off with a little bit of chocolate pudding for dessert.
Wait, chocolate pudding on the hot dog or for dessert?
No, for dessert, for dessert.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
You know what? Don't hate on some weird stuff because I remember playing high school baseball, and they used to give us free hot dogs in the dugout because the concessions were at the end of the dugout, and we used to get whipped cream and put it on there.
Ooh.
I'm telling you, bro, it's the weirdest sounding thing in the world, but it tastes so good. I'd imagine chocolate pudding can't be too far off.
Wow.
If I get bored or something, if the game starts to be a little boring, I might dabble around a little bit and maybe throw some chocolate pudding on the hot dog. We'll see.
Man, somewhere Gordon Ramsay is just vomiting profusely. Zach, how about you? Please don't say hot dogs with whipped cream on them.
No. I don't do hot dogs very often anymore, man. Probably just going to hit up Buffalo Wild Wings, if I'm being totally honest with you. That's usually where we go. We have a weekend routine with the kids where we usually hit Buffalo Wild Wings every Saturday. We have a server that we go and hang out with. So probably just some Buffalo Wild Wings, boneless wings, because they are definitely the best. I don't care who you are. They're so much easier, not as messy. Boneless wings.
Man, those are just nuggets. Those are just nuggets in disguise.
Yeah, chicken nugget boy.
You know what?
Yeah.
Who doesn't like a good McNuggets?
No, I love McNuggets. I'll tell
Everyone
you that.
loves nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, I love McNuggets just as much as the next guy, but if I'm having some wings, if I'm getting them from a wing place like B-Dubs, I got to get bone-in wings. Like if you're getting it from like a pizza joint or something, yeah, I get boneless wings.
But listen,
like,
why? Why though? You feel me? It's the same chicken. It's the same chicken. It's just now my hands
I'm
aren't
24 years old. I'm not 18. I'm not 16 years old anymore. I can't just be eating chicken nuggets. Come on now. I gotta have some sense of civility.
Listen, I feel like clean hands and a clean face are more important than how old I look. I want to look younger than I am anyway, so I'm not mad about it. Listen, you have your choices, I have mine, okay?
Fair enough. Hey, fair enough.
Some of us are wrong, and now, I mean, it's hard to always be right. That's all I can say.
For sure. No, that's true. And none of us are always right. I think I might get some pizza on Sunday, grub on some pepperoni and mushroom pizza. That's definitely my go-to for the toppings. Some white cheese pizza too. I'm definitely, a big advocate of changing up the regular tomato sauce is just too bland sometimes. You got to switch it up every now and then. I will not be a glizzy gladiator like Musab, but I'll definitely be one in spirit, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll think about you while we eat our wings and pizza.
Right. Anyway, so obviously, as we mentioned earlier, the Bucs had some football. They had a preseason game. So what are y'all's first kind of impressions? I mean, is there anything important that we can take away from this first preseason game, or is it kind of just a football game happened and that's really all there is to say? Zach, we'll start with you. What are your takeaways, if any, from this week 1 game?
I mean, it's hard to really take too much away because we started 5 or 6 people that are actual starters.
Right.
So I think a big thing for me is I do believe that Baker has kind of distanced himself in the starting quarterback race again. I know we've heard a lot of stuff throughout training camp and practices that he's throwing interceptions, and that's what happens when you play the first team defense. Like when Trask's not playing the first team defense, he's going to be playing better football than Baker, who's playing the first team. So in my opinion, I think that game time came up. Baker showed that he can be that guy, and that's kind of my biggest takeaway from this week.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. Baker definitely separated himself quite a bit. And he also, I love that the offense just looked new. It didn't look so bland as it has in the past couple of years, especially with Baker at the helm. There were rollouts, there was movement. Yep. It was like, whoa, this is a 21st century offense.
It was exciting, and we haven't had that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm with you. That's kind of one big takeaway that I think we can all agree on. Musab, how about you? Maybe you're focusing on a different position group, or maybe you're like, nah, this first game didn't mean jack. It's just something that happened.
I meant a little bit of jack to me just because my cousin's a huge Steelers fan, and although it is preseason, there's only so much shit talking we can do to each other just because, again, it's preseason. But he was banging my line, and I just kept on replying. I was like, dude, it's preseason, although I was a little bit butthurt just to see what happened. I mean, y'all mentioned already, I do think that, Baker definitely stood out compared to Kyle Trask. Carter, as you mentioned as well, it's a brand new year, kind of a whole new offense. Dave Canales now running the offense as well. Expectations for me weren't super high either, but I was happy with what I saw. I thought that, the wide receiver core looked real good, from Trey Palmer to Kalen Geiger and David Moore. But I will say is, just overall reflecting on that game, I have to say the penalties really bit us in the ass. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
12 penalties for 127 yards. I think 2 of Baker Mayfield's 20-yard passes or 20-plus yard passes were called back for this reason. So, when you think about it, things like those just suck. And, when they're happening, here and there throughout the game, it makes sense as to why we lost.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Those procedural penalties, especially the little illegal formations, and yeah, it was just kind of ridiculous, especially to start the game. But it's also week 1 of the preseason with a brand new quarterback and a brand new OC. So I tried to take a step back, 1,000 feet in the air kind of perspective. Like, hey, it's new. It's gonna take a little bit of time to iron out. But I am with you. It is frustrating to watch for sure, just because it's bad football,
Exactly.
So, Musab, to follow up with you, because Zach kind of already answered this question, but is in your mind, did Baker kind of separate himself from Trask quite a bit with this performance? Or do you think, oh, well, the competition's still close. There's still a couple weeks to go. Still need to give it some time.
I think so. I think he's definitely leading it for sure. I mean, he had a pretty solid outing. He didn't have any kind of special job. It was just to kind of execute the plays that Dave Canales was calling for him. You just kind of want to just, get these guys warmed up, sharpen them as much as you can. And the thing is that, Mayfield and Trask, they both had the same kind of supporting cast. So, when you're kind of comparing the two, obviously Baker did a lot better than Trask. And it's just interesting to see because there was so much talk near the end of this offseason about, oh, wait, maybe Trask does have something in him. And then, we see what happened this last week. And obviously it seems different, but I don't know. Maybe things will be looking different this upcoming game against the Jets since Kyle Trask will be starting. But as of right now, yeah, I'm leaning more towards Baker just with the experience. And, he just looked better overall, comparing Trask and Mayfield. Trask I think he got sacked 3 times, Mayfield none. So I think it's just the execution, knowing that, there's a possibility that you could be sacked as well. Everything was just in Mayfield's favor.
Yeah, there really wasn't a statistical category or thing that you could point to that Baker didn't do better than Trask in. Sorry, Zach, I noticed you were about to cut in there. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was going to say, even though our offensive line played like Dookie, there's no way around it. Our offensive line was trash this game. And granted, it's not our starting offensive line, but still.
It's also not super far off either.
Exactly.
Even worse.
2 or 3 offensive linemen not playing, so some of them are still starters, which is terrifying.
Yeah. Right.
But the biggest takeaway for me was this: Trask was just holding the ball too long. He couldn't make his mind up quick enough. And in my opinion, I know I've kind of hated on Trask. He was the 3rd best quarterback that played.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Game. I know he's not going to get cut. He's not going to be the 3rd string guy. He's going to be the backup, but John Wolford is earning it, and I don't think Kyle Trask is at this point.
Yeah, it's a fair thing to say. Wolford looked really, really good, but I don't know. I'm definitely not going to join on the because some people are jumping the gun and saying, "Oh, Trask is the 3rd string." Like Wolford passed him up. Like, whoa, hey, hold on, let's slow your roll, Chief. Like it was one game. Like, come on now.
Exactly.
Because if Trask continues to struggle, though, it is a conversation that probably needs to be had. But like you said, kind of pump the brakes a little bit. One game, but one big concern that I don't really think anyone needs to pump the brakes on is Luke Goedeke looked right. He looked brutal. There were some penalties, a lot of pressures given up. Just he didn't look comfortable. Now, given he's shifting back to a position that he moved away from, and it's I get it. It's a new thing for him. It's a new position. He also didn't have the all-pro at left tackle and Tristan Wirfs, but at the same time, oh man, it was bad. So is your confidence shaken? Is there a part of you that's kind of like, oh man, this could get really ugly really quick? Or maybe you're like, he still has a few weeks. Musab, we'll start with you. How are we feeling about Luke Goedeke at this point?
Yeah, I'm a little bit shaken. Just because, overall our offensive line looked rough, and he's one of them who needs to step it up for sure. This guy allowed 2 sacks, kind of a lot of just failed attempts with, helping us kind of get down the field. And on top of that, a holding penalty. The big thing for me is our offensive line, and specifically him, they need to fix these things fast because injuries are bound to happen. And some of these players are going to need to be, needed in the regular season. That's the same way I feel about, what we were talking about with Trask and Wolford as well. If something is to happen with Baker Mayfield, what the hell are we going to do with Trask and Wolford? So same thing with Goedeke. Fine, it's week 1, kind of a whole new offense. I won't be too hard on him just yet, but then again, I don't know. It just looked a little disappointing for me.
For sure, it wasn't a step forward. That's for damn sure.
Right. Oh yeah.
At most, it was a horizontal step. It was just kind of a, same stuff, different, same soup, just reheated, So, so Zach, how about you? Maybe you're a bit more optimistic. I don't know, by your facial expressions, it doesn't seem like that's the case. But
yeah, I mean, I've been a huge supporter of Gadecki. I think from everyone kind of hated on him last season when he had to play center, and now we get over to or not. Yeah, he did play center last year, right? Was that no? That was Hainsey, not my bad. But when he played left guard, everyone kind of was like, "Oh, he's trash," and I was one of the first ones to kind of be like, well, I mean, keep in mind he played a different position in college, so my confidence is shaken, like without a doubt. I've been coaching 7 and 8 year olds, and I've seen a lot of what he did in their practices. So it seems like obviously I think he's got the potential to be a good player, but it seems like his fundamentals are off, and he can't. It seems like he's having a hard time picking up who to block and where to block, and just missing blocks completely is not acceptable at this stage.
For sure. It's something's not clicking, it's not setting in with him. And hopefully he can turn it around. Like we keep saying, it's still week 1 of the preseason. There's still plenty of time for him to put it all together and fix it. But the big concern for me is just that I don't know who you turn to, because at that point, then who else do you got at tackle? Because most of the depth is kind of on the interior. They got Hainsey and Mauk, and I don't know. It's going to be tough to move forward if they decide to move on from him or decide that he's not the right tackle of the future, because like we've been saying, there's not really any other option. So yeah, I don't know. That's definitely something to keep an eye on going in next week and just for the future. But another thing that was slightly concerning, because while they had, they made some nice plays. There were a couple of interceptions, but at the same time, the secondary was a bit odd. It was a bit weird to see them struggle as much as they did, especially just because, Kenny Pickett, outstanding, great young quarterback. Yeah. I'm a huge fan. He had a great first series, but other than that, I mean, it was Mason Rudolph, Tanner Morgan, Mitch Trubisky, and, their receiving core isn't exactly explosive either, other than Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. So all of that to say, are you worried about this? Are you still worried about the secondary depth? Do you think that maybe free agency is worth exploring, because the wheels of free agency are starting to turn again? Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook have signed with their respective teams. So Zach, we'll start with you. How concerned are you with the secondary?
I didn't think it was possible to get more concerned than I was. And boy, was I wrong, because we had Calvin Austin out here Calvin Austin the second out here looking like
third, actually.
The third, yeah, sorry. Out here looking like a stud.
Yeah, he was.
And I know a lot of people are looking at it like, well, we didn't have our starters in. Well, I mean, at least 2 of them are going to be starters, because we need a slot guy and we need a nickel guy.
And the Steelers weren't playing their starters either. So.
Exactly. So it just felt like I don't even know how to put it into words. If we don't explore free agency, I think we're asking to fail this season.
Wow. Well, I mean, I'm with you. It's definitely tough to see them struggle as mightily as they did, and for the Bucs to just kind of sit on their hands and just say, well, this is who we got. This is who we're running with.
That's what you can do, guys.
Right. But then again, the salary cap situation is always tough, and they got to rework some contracts. So, that'll be the excuse. But Musab, how about you? Maybe you were a little less concerned, or maybe you're at least just level, like, yeah, this is who they are. Like, they're not very good. So this is just what you expected, or maybe you're a little bit more concerned like Zach is.
Kind of feel the same way, the way you mentioned Luka Deck in that horizontal line. Right. I wasn't expecting too much, but then again, I saw nothing. And it is concerning because, as y'all mentioned already, this is not even the Steelers' starting core, And when you think about, a couple of our sprinkled in starters going against these kind of second, third, fourth stringers, and they're still doing crappy, I mean, it's definitely concerning. This is exactly what happened last year. Our DBs were put to work, all right, and it was ugly. So I am scared it may happen again. With the whole cap space mumbo jumbo, again, I'm not an expert on all that stuff, but hopefully we're able to make something happen, because we're gonna need to. I do want to say I was expecting a little bit more from someone like Zion McCollum. he had one good interception, but I mean, a lot
Other
of
than that,
failed opportunities,
Mhm.
and it just
Long
puts me down.
coverages.
But hey, it's week 1. Hopefully, maybe things will pick up big time, against the Jets, but we'll see.
We'll see. Right. Yeah, that's the best way you can put it. But one thing that we would love to see, another thing that we'd love to see about is if our audience, our listeners could tune in and vote for the best of the Bay. We are under the best podcast. We are nominated for the best podcast section under the entertainment section of the voting. We have a tweet about it that's pinned to our profile at our socials at RBLR Sports. So you can check it out there. Links also in the description. Every vote counts. We'd really appreciate it. It'd mean a lot to us if we were able to, take it home. We were really appreciative to even be nominated. So, might as well win the whole dang thing, that kind of thing. So we really appreciate it. So if you could take a second to do that, we'd really appreciate it. So now moving on to kind of the second half of the show. Some tough news. We mentioned it at the beginning of the show. Obviously, injuries are going to happen. But it was quick today. Like I think it was rough. Like it was like 1 second. It's about Russell Gage. He's unfortunately done for the year. And I don't know about y'all, but I saw the tweet. It was like, oh, Russell Gage got carted off. That sucks. And then I refreshed the feed, and then it was like Russell Gage done for the year. And I was like, oh, yikes! Like that's horrible. That's really brutal. They didn't even take a day or nothing. They were like, yeah, he's done. So that's hard. That's hard to see. It's really tough, and obviously wish him the best, wish him a speedy recovery. But how are we feeling about the wide receiver depth now? Because now Trey Palmer maybe could be pushed in, or maybe they go free agency with a wide receiver instead of the cornerback room. I don't know, but I'm actually pretty excited to see what Trey Palmer can do because he looked pretty fun in the week 1 matchup against the Steelers. And I don't know, he's got a lot of explosiveness, a lot of athletic ability. So if he's given a chance to just kind of refine his route running ability, then I think he could do some really good things on the outside, especially for this Bucs team. But maybe y'all disagree. Musab, are you a little bit more concerned about it? Maybe you aren't as confident in Trey Palmer, or maybe you're like me and you're just excited to see him go out there and do his thing.
Day by day, minute by minute, I'm definitely riding the Trey Palmer train now. To hell with that Trask train we were talking about last week, Carter.
The Trey train, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
There's a new train in town, and yeah, I mean, I'm with it, and I want to give a shout out to Zach because I know that he was calling out Trey Palmer for being a potential kind of hidden gem, and that's what he is. Oh yeah, that's what he is for sure. I mean, this guy, this is his moment to shine. I feel like I feel like we really haven't mentioned him, earlier in this podcast. And I mean, this guy was looking real good, for a week 1 preseason game. And, I actually saw a video of him catching a 60-yard touchdown over Sauce Gardner, during their little matchup against the Jets during practice today. So this is his opportunity to take. We got a couple guys behind him who also kind of have that fair opportunity, but I mean, that's where I see it. We also got a guy named Cephas Johnson. I think that's what his name is.
Oh, yeah, we just signed him. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess he's part of the competition now, too. But, hey, you know what? It is what it is. Russell Gage has been, dealing with a lot of injuries. So this is anything surprising. This was something that was kind of somewhat bound to happen. And I feel like we did anticipate a little bit of it. So that's really about it, though. Yeah. So, Zach, what about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the same thought that you are on. Like, it shocked me how fast we found out because it literally was like my ESPN app popped up, said that Russell Gage was hurt, and then I looked on Twitter and it said out for the season, and then after that it said they were going to go get him tested. So it's like, it's bad when they're telling you he's out for the season before they actually go and get tests done. But I mean, without sounding hateful towards Russell Gage, because I have no issues with him at all. I mean, if there was anyone that could get hurt and we could survive, I think that our wide receiver depth is a lot deeper than we originally thought it was coming into this preseason and into the season. So if there was a position that we could deal with a serious injury, I think wide receiver is one of them. And as much as I hate to see him not be able to play and I want the best for him, I'm excited for Trey Palmer. I've been saying it since we drafted him. I think that he's a stud. I think he's a dog. Like, he's going to do things good for Tampa. And, I mean, I'm just like I said, it's bad to say it, but I'm glad that he's going to get more playing time.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, yeah, it was going to be tough for him to kind of squeeze in and get some reps in the regular season just because of, they had the big three going in, unless they wanted to boot Cade Otton off the field and maybe do some 4 wide receiver formations, which with Canales, who knows?
Exactly.
But yeah, the only concern is just that, Godwin and Evans they're not old, but they're not young. They're not the young Bucs in their prime that they used to be.
Godwin has injury history.
Right. And so if one of them gets hurt now, then it's like, oh, well, crap.
Don't worry. Cade Warner is going to be there to protect us.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, it's definitely not good to see for sure, no matter what. But I'm with y'all. I'm definitely very excited to be on the trade train, just see how he does. Because at worst, he was a 6th round pick anyways. So it's not, it's not the end of the world if he doesn't turn out to be the next, Julio Jones or whatever.
Yeah.
But moving on to another unfortunate injury situation, Ryan Jensen has not practiced. He has not done anything. He's still working through that knee injury that he had last year that kept him out the whole year except for the playoff game. So I don't really see any way that he's ready for week 1 personally. Obviously everyone's a big fan of Ryan Jensen. He's obviously one of the best centers in the NFL, but unfortunately, if you're not practicing at all and it's already almost week 2 of the preseason, it's not looking like he's going to be ready by week 1. So Robert Hainsey stepping up more than likely to fill in. How do you feel about that? I mean, we saw it all last year, right? Like Hainsey was the guy, so for better or for worse, that's going to be the same scenario this season. Are you concerned maybe, or you think maybe Nick Leverett has also been taking some snaps at center? You think maybe he is worth maybe giving a shot to? I don't know. I'm kind of on the Hainsey train just because I guess, he familiarity. But Musab, we'll start with you. How are we feeling about Hainsey potentially being the week 1 starter at center?
Well, you say it like that, Carter. There's going to be a lot of trains this season, huh?
Right.
Train of the week. We might have to do that.
Well, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
All right. But yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. Let's just see what happens. Leaning towards Robert Hainsey, but that's really about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's not much to say about Hainsey that hasn't already been said. He had his struggles, his ups and downs last season for sure. It's just unfortunately where the Bucs are right now, because there's not really a great replacement out there for him. And even if there was, I don't know if the Bucs want to go out there and do it at this point because of the salary cap situations, and they have other positions that maybe need to be addressed. So Zach, how about you? How are you feeling about the Hainsey situation moving forward?
Yeah, we know what he's about. I mean, like you said, it's familiarity with him at this point. I'm honestly leaning more towards Leverett just because he played solid when he was in. I know he didn't play center at all last year, but he played very good when he was in. No, not very good. He played decent when he was in. And I enjoy the trying something new. If we know what we have is not great, like, it doesn't hurt to at least give it a shot. Now, if he comes in week 1 and sucks, then put in Hainsey. But I just feel like why not? If we're running a whole new line anyway, essentially, why not throw him in? I will say, as much as I love Ryan Jensen, I'm so confused why he didn't get surgery. If it was that serious of an injury, if it's going to affect you into next season, why not go get it fixed? Because you're a 350-pound dude. Your knee's not going to heal itself, dude. That's a lot of weight going onto that knee. So right. I'm more irritated with him not going and getting it repaired and just expecting it to be better. It kind of reminds me of those players who, like Antonio Brown, or was it Antonio Brown? Who was it that went and got surgery? It may have been the NBA now that I think about it. But
Scottie Pippen did that one year with the Bulls.
Yeah, it was more recent than Scottie Pippen. But waited all the way up until the season started and then had surgery right afterwards, and then missed the whole season. It's just it seems silly to me to not get it fixed if you can, especially in the situation that you're in where you are the best offensive lineman outside of Tristan Wirfs on this team. You're a leader on the team. We need you practicing. We need you playing. We don't need you sitting on the sidelines because you think that your knee's going to heal itself.
Well, it makes me wonder. I mean, I wonder why he did that. And I mean, I'm trying to think.
Exactly.
If he were to get surgery, I mean, how long would he be out for, or would he be ready by then if he had decided to get surgery at that time?
Well, I mean, even if he wasn't ready at this point, he's not ready to play anyway.
Yeah.
So, and who knows? Maybe this lingers further into week one, further than week one. Maybe it's week 6, week 7. Like at that point, week 7, week 8, our season might not be redeemable if it goes bad. So, or if we're doing good, maybe we don't want to change anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it just feels like to me, even if you would have missed time this season, you would have been better off in your future to get it fixed. Like I said, whether you're playing with us or not, like it just seems to me to make more sense to get it repaired and either be there for your team or even just be better off in your future than just letting it heal.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a smart move, but now we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. All the little. It's just so strange not to get surgery in a situation like this. And it doesn't seem like he came back for the playoff game, So it doesn't seem like it's from a place of I don't want to play and mess up my off season. Like no, he seems, I don't know. It's not from a commitment sort of thing or like he just doesn't want to get surgery in the off season and miss his off time. Like no, it's. Yeah, I'm with y'all. I don't know. It's a very weird situation. At this point, I don't know. Maybe at this point he might have to change his tune and go under the knife. I don't know. It's a bit concerning to go from playing in a playoff game to I can't even go in drills and preseason game. So
does it kind of give you the vibe of like, and this is I've just thought about this, so I haven't put too much thought into it, but does it kind of give you the vibe of like I should have retired, but here we are?
I don't know about all that. That's kind of an interest because he has talked about it very openly.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a brutal injury. So maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know. I don't want to speculate quite that much on it. Maybe that is where it's at. Yeah, I don't know. Musab, maybe you disagree. Maybe you're like, yeah, that sounds actually plausible.
I don't know. I just think that there might be some things that we're not aware about, and maybe at first when he had to decide if he were to get surgery, if he could avoid it, maybe there wasn't enough information for him to know either. But I don't know. I also just feel that like people like Todd Bowles are also kind of dancing around this question as well as to when he is supposed to be back or not, or how it's looking. So that raises my eyebrow a little bit.
Bowles came out and said if they're not practicing, they're probably not going to be ready for week 1.
Right.
So he hasn't given us a date that he's coming back, but he's essentially said he's in there week 1. So that just leads me more into like, dude, what are you doing? Because I know he signed a 3-year deal when we re-signed him in free agency. That was last year. So he's got 2 more years left. Maybe he expected Brady to be there. Like maybe he expected a different situation because if I'm a soon-to-be retired NFL player, and I go from Brady potential Super Bowl to a quarterback battle, not knowing if we're going to even make the playoffs. I might be a little. I've made a lot of money. I might be a little tired and ready to go home.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. I don't know. There are definitely some hard questions that kind of need to be answered with the Jensen situation sooner rather than later. But regardless, on a more positive note. The Bucs play the Jets this upcoming week, and the Jets are on Hard Knocks. I've watched the first 2 episodes. It's Hard Knocks. It's kind of silly and stupid and very rah-rah NFL films-esque, but it's kind of fun. It's mindless entertainment. But the Bucs get to be on it. They've got a joint practice, I think, and then obviously the actual preseason game. So there's a couple things, like anything you're looking for against the Jets. I'm not sure if Aaron Rodgers is playing. I haven't quite heard anything about that. He sat out the first 2 weeks, the first 2 Jets preseason games, but maybe he'll play in the third one. And secondly, are you excited for the Bucs to be on Hard Knocks again? The last time they were on, it was a very different vibe. Jameis Winston, they had to cut Roberto Aguayo on that Hard Knocks show. It was a brutal sequence. It wasn't a super fun show. So Zach, we'll start with you. Anything you're looking for against the Jets, and are you excited for the Bucs to be on Hard Knocks?
Yeah, so this is the first season I've not watched Hard Knocks in a very long time.
Really?
I do not like the Jets, and from all the rumors I was hearing, the Jets don't like Hard Knocks. So, from what I've read into it, they're not going to let them in the locker room or in the offices when they cut players. Which, as dark as it is, that's kind of one of my favorite things to see some of their reactions and how well they take it and where they go next. So I have not watched this season. I have no opinion on Tampa Bay being on it because I'm just not going to watch it. But
Right.
I hope Aaron Rodgers plays, and I hope we sack him 17 times. I just don't like him.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. He's a weird dude. Got a lot of weird stuff about him. I'll leave it at that. Musab, how about you? Are you excited? Maybe you feel differently. Maybe you're thrilled that the Bucs are going to be on Hard Knocks with the Jets, or maybe you're kind of like Zach and you're like, who cares? It's a stupid HBO show.
I might try to find some way to maybe watch it. I don't know. I mean, when it comes to Hard Knocks, I kind of like these kind of shows just because they kind of remind me of those Netflix documentaries where it's they do a whole season with some random. I don't know if you've seen. I think it's Last Chance U.
Great show.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that. You kind of it's like a real life documentary, but also a show, and you see all the kind of drama and all that other mumbo jumbo. But when it just comes to the Jets game, I'm just looking for a couple of things. Just I'm looking for more some action on the running back side. I saw nothing from people like Keyshawn Vaughn, who we've been thinking may still be relevant, but as of right now, I don't think so, and I don't think he will be relevant if he continues to play like he was. I'm just looking for some O-line improvement. Curious to see what goes on with the wide receiver game, especially with Russell Gage's season-ending injury. And then looking at the DB battle, just because they have a lot of guys right now on the depth chart as of right now, and we're going to have to cut them, week by week, or especially right before the regular season. So curious to see what we do and if we learned from our mistakes against Pittsburgh. So that's about it.
Yeah, I mean the running game is definitely a big concern because we didn't really touch on it as much just because there was a lot to talk about. But yeah, moving forward, the Bucs got to figure something out because man, it looked just as bad as it did last year. Again, it's just one preseason game. You don't want to put too much stock into it. Pittsburgh, obviously, the most well-coached team in football. So if anyone can kind of scheme their way into doing some good things, it's them. But still, all of that being said, they still had a 2.5 yards per carry total. That's not good.
And every big run that we broke, right. There was a holding penalty every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Any positive yard run, it felt like it was getting called back no matter what. Now, I will say, I was not very positive on Tucker coming into this preseason.
Mm-hmm.
He looked real good. He looked real good the little bit that we saw of him. I'll give him that.
Well, yeah, I mean, compared to Keyshawn Vaughn, I'm afraid any one of us might have looked pretty good out there, getting handoff from whoever's under center.
What's scary, though, is that in this offense, it looks like Keyshawn Vaughn they're expecting to play a decent-sized role.
Yeah. It's brutal. It kind of just goes back to all the discussions that we've had about the running back room. But at the same time, the offensive line in general also just looked pretty bad. So I don't know how much to really put the blame on the running back room as opposed to just it's a delicate balance. You don't want to just say, well, the running backs suck. There's no holes to hit, there's nowhere to run. You can't.
All I know is Zeke would have looked real nice right now.
I don't know about all that. If there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to run. But I'm with you. It's definitely concerning regardless, whether it's the offensive line or the running backs. It's bad. So yeah, it's definitely something to look for against the Jets because the Jets have a really good defensive line because it's deep. The depth guys are really, really good too. I feel like they've spent a first or second round pick on the defensive line every year. It's really impressive. That is one thing that the Jets, we can talk about Aaron Rodgers and his shenanigans all we want, but they're still a really solid defensive team, especially. So yeah, that's kind of all we got. We're coming to the end of our episode. I'm excited to watch the Jets Bucs game. We'll certainly talk about it next week. If you like what you heard, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. We're up to 200 subscribers now. So, if you're trying to continue to up that number, we definitely appreciate it. Also give us a follow at RBLR Sports on any of our socials. That's definitely a good place to hit us up. But as always, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.